Hi there. This is Billy Earl, and this is Eastern Shore Politics. Our guest today is a candidate for the mayoral office in Salisbury, Maryland, Jermichael Mitchell. Jermichael, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, sir.
I know it's this is a just busy time. There's always something else to do, something else to see.
Most definitely.
Let me ask you a question about recent events, and it has to do with your name and your information not being provided on a piece that was touting the mayoral forum.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I believe it was purposely done. Well, I know it was purposely done.
Yeah.
A group, an organization in this community that calls itself progressive, considers itself representing Democrats, left us off purposefully. In their group message on social media, in their group chat, it was said specifically that I was considered not a candidate. I was considered a person that wouldn't win, and quote unquote, because of some of my past rhetoric, they felt like it would be not important to publicize me as a candidate on their page.
That's a pretty judgmental position to take.
Very judgmental position to take, especially for people who say they're about people, right? For people who say they want people to stay informed, right? When you're saying that you're running on transparency or people involved with you are trying to be transparent, it's just, I don't know, it's not surprising from the,
Right.
knowing who's involved. It's not surprising,
Yeah.
right? Like we've actually been here with this group kind of sort of before, but it's just not surprising. And then to us, it lets us know that we're doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
Right, for some of the backlash that has happened and some of the things that has gone on, it just lets us know that we're doing something right.
Well, it does seem to be part of a reoccurring pattern of behavior, doesn't it?
Yeah, yes, sir.
But it's hard to believe that this is happening. It's also harder to believe that one of the leaders who is a candidate in this race was unaware of it. That just
I think the other piece that was difficult for a lot of us was saying that you're not a part of something that we all know you're a part of.
Yeah.
At that forum that evening, it was asked if one of the candidates was a part of Mayoral Progressive, part of that organization, LSPC, and it was blatantly said, no, I'm not a part of this group, or I'm not associated with it. But if you go through the photos, if you go through the past history of the votes in the past couple of years, this person has been tremendously a part of it.
Yeah.
Been with them. They're in all the photos, and we know that leadership from this group is also a part of her campaign. So it was just. It was different because we promised each other in the beginning that we weren't what we consider a smear campaign.
Right.
Right. We, as you saw, me and Mr. Taylor, like we have a great relationship. We talk, we communicate.
Right.
And we promised each other that we were going to stick to the facts. The facts matter more than anything, and we weren't going to start spewing lies or making things up. And we truly feel like some people have spread lies through this process. And their integrity is in question.
In question.
Yeah.
That's a very kind way to put it.
Yeah.
Let's pivot a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about you.
Yeah. I'm a kid from Salisbury, born and raised. I know that's kind of cliche from what we're all saying, but I definitely was born and raised here in Salisbury. Came from a single mother.
Mm-hmm.
So had different life struggles, but I always knew I was better than my circumstances.
Yeah.
Often through my sports endeavors, often through my classroom endeavors, even my teachers. I had a teacher show up to the past forum, which my third grade teacher.
Isn't that cool?
She came out, that was like a super amazing, and made me feel good. Right, because I remember, I know some people have those stories where teachers told them they wouldn't be anything. None of my teachers really were like that. I had a few maybe, but most of my teachers always told me I was going to be a leader.
Right.
Most of my teachers always told me that I would do something great. And just to see some of those things come into fruition, man. So, I played sports. That was my tout in high school. I played for Butch Waller.
Okay.
I played basketball at Wycomico High School. Won a state title. And then I immediately got into law enforcement, right? Like I'm graduating, I'm thinking about a career.
Okay.
So I became a correctional officer for the county jail. Did that for a year, worked with adults, and I just felt like, adults are kind of stuck in their ways. So I applied for the juvenile center in Front of the jail, the juvenile jail, which was in front of the adult jail.
Right.
And I got actively involved, man. Worked there for about 5.5 years, and just saw that it was a revolving door. After that, I got into the education system, and I've been all around, man. I've been doing it in the nonprofit sector now, but I've worked with kids since I was a kid, and it was just always trying to figure out what avenues I could get to make kids who honestly look like me or came from situations like mine to understand you're better than your situation, right? Like, you don't have control over that as a child,
Right.
no matter how much you wish for it to be better. All you can do is when your opportunity comes to make it better, right? Whether that be schooling,
Bingo, yeah.
whether that be the job. Like you said, as a child, you have no say. But the moment you get an opportunity to make your life better, you have to take advantage of that. And you can't use the past as an excuse, right? A lot of times people say, well, I've been through this, and this happened to me, and this. Great that happened to you. Look at that as motivation. Look at that as a way to a leg up instead of a leg down, right? Like, so I've always been able to look at my life, and instead of complaining or crying or murmuring about it, I use it as a pushing tool, right? If I want better, I gotta go get better. If I want more for my family, then I gotta go make more for my family.
It appears, I think, to the general public that we don't pay enough attention to our children.
Yeah.
That we don't mentor them in a way that is helpful. That we don't get it. You're doing what the rest of us are not doing, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Because it's so important. Kids today face such challenges.
Yeah.
You know, they're so different and so much more intense than when I was a kid. You know, basically the biggest thing on my plate was, you know, when's dinner, Mom?
Yeah, for sure.
But you know, today's children are facing magnificent and horrifying futures in many ways, either from the inclusion of trickle down, you know, from government people who know that doesn't work. From climate change,
For sure.
and my grandkids, you know, I'm worried about them.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. What I've noticed out here in the years that I've worked with youth in our community, right here just in Salisbury and across the Eastern Shore even, the more our technology got advanced, right? Our kids are smart, but they just didn't, their interest was lost in certain things.
Right.
Like, think about how often now you see kids riding a bike in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Right? We talk about, they don't ride bikes like that anymore. When I was a kid, that was the thing, right?
That
I
was
couldn't
the
wait to
thing.
get outside and get on my bike.
Yeah.
Saturday mornings, right? Kids couldn't wait for Saturday mornings. Your neighborhood was full of children on a
Had to have a
Saturday
bike.
morning, right?
Had to have a bike.
Yeah, so nowadays kids don't even come outside. They sit in the house literally, and I can't use game systems as, you know, there always was Atari.
Yeah.
There's always Nintendo. So game systems have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Just kids enjoyed nature more. Kids wanted to be out in the climates, whether it was cold, raining. We didn't care. We wanted to be together. And in today's time, man, a lot of these kids are just, they want to be by themselves.
Screens.
Yeah, it's more important to be stuck in a phone. And you know, I think about the movie The Matrix. Right?
Yeah.
Like we're really living in a Matrix time. People are so stuck online or whatever's going on social media sites that they forget to live real life.
You know, it's the fastest growing addiction in this country. Digital.
Digital is the fastest growing.
Yeah,
I can believe it.
And you know, they haven't caught up, you know, with alcohol, and they haven't caught up with narcotics.
Right.
But you know, it's more widely spread than
Yes.
either one of those.
Yeah, most of, and you figure the accessibility, right? Everyone, no matter how old you are, has accessibility to cell phones, right?
Oh, yeah.
'Cause you don't need to have that 2-year plan anymore, right? You get access to these services where, you know, you can have week plans, you can have a monthly plan, and have access to just as much internet as anyone else has access to. So that is definitely, but I believe that we, and I say we as in the elders and people who are coming, we will spark the minds of some of those future leaders. We will spark the minds of some youth who know that they have to change and they have to continue to carry the torch, right? Politics, it may change a little bit, but it ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Right? It's always going to be involved. And that's one of the things that has happened with this campaign that we're running. We just want to educate and empower.
Yeah.
We truly want to educate people on the process, especially our youth, and empower them to understand, you know, you don't need those big flashy degrees. You just have to be a concerned citizen
Right.
who sees things not going the way that they should be going, and step up and use your voice, use your platforms to make positive happen.
Do you think people are reserved, are trepidatory in entering politics and political discussions and this. I know in my family, for instance, my mother in Texas, she won't watch news anymore because she says it's just too depressing.
Yes, so she's not the only one.
No.
I know a lot of my elders say the same thing right now, that the news isn't like it used to be.
Right.
Same with the newspapers. They say it's hard to pick up a newspaper now and read it because it's more sellable things, more clickbait things, more negativity actually. Right.
Yeah.
Like it's negativity sells. As no matter how much we want to talk about, it's not often that you get the glory of the nice articles in the paper anymore.
They don't make money.
Yeah, they don't make the money. So she's right. It is at times media pushes the gloominess of the days, whereas we got to stay focused on it. And that's why it's good to stay touted in your community. It's good to be active. It's good to be out here because then you can see the work of people who are active, people who are doing good things. And like you say, you can turn that news off and have your own news. You have your own stories of positivity. Because like she said, man, they glamorize the negative.
Oh, yeah.
All across the country, man. Every time I pick up my phone and put the internet up, it's something negative that pops up first.
Well, there's an entire television network that lives on trafficking and fear.
For sure. And that's why I think we're grateful for media outlets like yours and this, man, because like you said, if we don't create our own platforms, if we don't control the narrative, we will always be pushed a narrative that may not fit our lives.
That's smart. So all you people out there, make sure and watch this show.
Yeah, for sure.
And tell your friends to, too.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
When you were young and you were starting to look at politics, what'd you think of it?
It was crazy at the time.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. During that time period when I first really got actively in the process of politics, Mr. Ed Taylor at the time was around.
Okay.
He had 100 Good Men going on. That was my first time really getting an experience with politics.
Okay.
Mr. Ed, he was at the county council at that time.
Right.
And they had an organization at the time called 100 Good Men. And they came in our neighborhood and they did a couple different projects, and I just was amazed, right? Like I've never, besides church, I never seen men dressed up, right? Like I never seen men coming together. Usually in my neighborhood, it was alcohol and drugs, right? When men came together, street conversation. But these were distinguished men who were coming in our community because they wanted to know the needs, they wanted to know the concerns. His tenure wasn't as crazy. The crazy I'm talking about was, and no disrespect to anyone, but at the time, Barry Tillman was our mayor.
Yeah.
And Miss Rachel Polk was on the council.
Okay.
And back then, man, they used to have some real heated city council discussions.
I've heard about this.
And that was my first true experience with politics. Because you figure at this time, I'm playing bass sports.
Yeah.
So we're getting, of course, they've always given citations when you win. So we're receiving citations. So I'm starting to pay attention to politics because we're going up there to receive citations. But then I'm also reading those stories about, the arguments and the fist fights and the court cases amongst our council and our president, our mayor at the time. So that was my true introduction. But I knew Miss Polk and I knew Miss Siggers. And I knew these people from my neighborhood who would come around and talk to us and ask questions of our needs and then go represent us. At that time, we only had one district that was considered a minority district, which was District 1 at the time.
Yeah.
And at that time, they did come in our neighborhoods. They did talk to us. They did ask us questions. And that kind of inspired me, right? Like, it was like, in my mind, it was important that someone cared, right? They may not have been able to fix all my problems. But at least they were asking me what my problems were.
Right.
At least they weren't just coming around during voting time as well. That was another thing, just coming around during the voting time.
Yeah.
Now, these people were consistently in our neighborhoods. These people were always a phone call away. And that was one of the things that I can say during that time. It was crazy to see the negative side of it, but it was good to see no matter how much she got arguing or they got arguing with each other, our representatives would still come back to our neighborhood and they still would talk to us and they still would keep us informed.
What do you think kids today think of politics?
So it's funny. Me running has sparked a lot of kids' interest.
Good.
Like me being involved with youth activities and coaching and things, it's often, man, I go to Y High or I go to different places and young people are talking politics. Mr. Mitchell, I saw you in the forum. Mr. Mitchell, I seen you on TV. I heard you on the radio. Mr. Mitchell, what is this about? And it's so many inspiring questions. One young lady was like, Mr. Mitchell, you don't have enough signs out. We need to get you some more.
Campaign manager in the making.
That's what I'm saying. So just hearing their ideas, or the parents, right? When I go to places and speak, and kids knowing, again, I don't have a degree. So a kid that's been struggling in school, right, hears that someone is running for mayor that doesn't have the big flashy degree, kind of gives them hope. It kind of gives them an opportunity to understand, hey, listen, I do struggle at times with school. This isn't all the time what's on my mind, but that doesn't mean I still can't go do great things. But it's been inspiring. I've had so many young people that I've come in contact with through juvenile services that were locked up,
right,
that have gotten their lives in order. Now they're in their 30s, they're in their early late 20s. They've never voted in their lives.
Never voted.
Right? So it's a lot of people who I'm coming in contact with that are young adults who in their entire lives since 18 till now in their 30s, they've never had an interest.
It's so interesting that, you hear, oh, well, my vote doesn't count.
Yes.
Absolutely it counts. And
Sure.
in a lot of ways, it's kind of it's an obligation, if you live in a democracy, to do kind of the minimum, which is to cast your ballot. And if nobody cast a ballot, where would we be? We would, the small kind of, extremist groups would control
For sure.
everything. So everybody's got to have that voice.
Yeah.
How do we get them to the polls? You guys are doing GOTV,
I think the misconception is this, and it's crazy because I believe in school they got to make sure they break down local politics. When they do the government class, it needs to go more in depth with the local politics.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They go with the president and the legislation, right?
Constitution.
So, they go into all of that. And when they have that conversation and you go through all of that process, right, and then you hear the deafening part of the electoral college, right? You hear that component, right? And even though we go vote in that race, in our minds, our vote really to us doesn't count, right?
Until the Electoral College is abolished, we have a system that is, and I hate to use this term, but rigged.
Oh, no, for sure.
It's unfair.
For sure. So people knowing that, that's when they start saying that, my vote doesn't count, right?
Yeah.
Not understanding that there's no Electoral College in local votes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, especially in a nonpartisan like this one, this is just a straight on-the-day show up. Not like we had to run a primary to pick which candidate would run in the race. So I just feel like some people are just misinformed. So we have to do better with our voter education.
Yeah.
Right? And we have to start educating them early. I learned, and again, I just learned it last year during the county council race and the governor race, state races, that a child can be 16 to register. They can't vote till they're 18.
Right.
So again, something as such as earlier registration, right? Votes, going to these high schools, instead of just politics class, sitting these kids down, having mock, right? Every kid can't participate in the SGA.
No.
You got to have the grades, but it's nothing to say, with the after school program, hey, we're going to set up a council. We're going to make one of you guys the president.
Yeah.
We're going to have a mock election, right? We're going to find some campaign candidates. We're going to find... These are creative ideas to make elections fun now, right? Kids get an opportunity to run. They get an opportunity to be somebody. Everybody has a position. Everybody's important. That's a different idea to spark the minds of our youth to say, you know what, this was very interesting. This was very fun. Instead of that boring process of, well, come to a county council meeting or come to this meeting or city council, come here, and then they're hearing people who are actively involved, but it's just going over top of their head.
Yeah.
Because we haven't made it interesting for them, right? We have to find ways to make it interesting for people. And we have to encourage people from our community to get involved. When you have a dog in the fight, you care more.
There you go.
You truly care more. That's why I encourage, and I'm still encouraging. I hope the Haitian community at some point in time has people run for the county and city councils. Hope the Spanish and Korean communities in our community. We need true representation on these councils.
Yeah.
And I truly believe with true representation, people start feeling more comfortable. Another thing that we said is in this race, when we win, we're going to start a multicultural board. They have all these boards, but right, like we don't have representation of Haitians on the council. We don't have representations of Koreans and Spanish cultures on the council. Why not start a multicultural board? something that you can have representation from all cultures, meet every other month. Have these people come and bring you your problems. If it needs to be a 2-hour meeting, cool. But everybody gets equal time to express the needs of their culture.
Claro que sí, senor. Really important. Unfortunately, I think one of the axioms that people operate under, which is needs to be dispelled and it needs to be eliminated as a barrier, is people think that local government is not as important as state or federal government, when in reality, many of the things that will affect a family, a man or a woman, directly and most judiciously, originate from local government.
The local matters more. It matters more than anything.
Yes, it does.
Because, like you said, your local taxes, your local issues, your local environment, things that.
Where is the money spent?
Where is the money spent? And you're being taxed. I truly believe, and I've said this for a long time, and this is what really got me, and it's because taxation without representation, right? If you're paying taxes, you should have someone speaking for you. You should have someone representing you. And if that's not the case, then you should be using your voice and finding out why. And those people who are representing you, if they're not listening, then you gotta, check their records.
Boy, that's a good point.
Yeah, they gotta check their records.
Okay, we've got what, 10 days?
Yeah, no, we are now officially, I want to say 13 to 12 to 13 days.
Yeah, okay.
Roughly
2 weeks.
Yep, roughly 2 weeks.
So you're going to be knocking on doors?
Yeah, we're going to be continuing knocking on doors. We're going to be continuing putting out our signs. We're going to have, I believe we're going to have one more meet and greet.
Okay.
So we're working on that now. And then, people, again, accessible, right? We're going to some churches now. I had a couple meetings yesterday. I'm getting with some of the faith-based organizations and churches in our community, just to stand up and speak to their people. And the biggest piece and the biggest pitch is that we want people to be informed. We ain't saying you got to vote for me.
Right.
We're saying be informed so you can make an educated vote. Don't just vote don't vote because of your past history or who your parents used to vote for or what party. No.
A lot of people do that.
A lot of people do that, and we waste our votes that way.
Yeah.
And then nothing comes about because all we've been doing is voting party lines.
Yeah.
We haven't been voting for our future.
Nope.
And that's very vital. So we just encouraging people to be educated and informed and make educated, competent votes. Don't vote just because of popularity, or don't vote just because it's a woman. Don't vote just because of color or party lines. Vote because you heard something that hit your life. That's what's vital, right? Because you got to live in the city still. What fits your life? Who's saying something that's moving you and gonna move our city forward?
You've got one more meet and greet coming up?
Yes.
Where is that?
So we have one more meet and greet that we're trying to put together. This on October 28th, we have a domestic violence and breast cancer awareness basketball game.
Okay.
It's not being put on by me myself, but I will be there to meet and greet people.
Okay.
That's this Saturday at the Salvation Army on Oak Street, 415 Oak Street. It's not considered a political event, but because of the people who are putting it on, they're giving me the opportunity to play in the game.
Right.
So I'll be there meet and greeting, shaking hands, and talking.
They've got a hoop court there?
At the Salvation Army on Oak Street, yes, sir. They got games there, yep. So we'll be on Oak Street this Saturday at a domestic violence awareness game and breast cancer awareness game.
Okay, I've put up a J once or twice in my life.
Yeah, man. So and people come to sports events.
Yeah, they do.
So like meeting people where they are. That's the biggest piece, right? Let's not create the world. Let's not go to a building and say, hey, meet me here at this meet and greet, and let's do this. Nah, let's go to where people congregate already, right? People are already going to be at that basketball game, so it's vital and important for us to be there.
And what time is that again?
That game is on at 12:30. It's a middle school girls game at 12:30, and then the men's game is at 1:30. So
gotcha.
Big ups to those organizers for even allowing us to come by. But it's a group called Women for Women.
Okay.
And they support domestic violence, and they support breast cancer survivors.
Okay, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Talk directly to the voter and tell them what should they be thinking and what should they do?
Yeah, I would say, in my opinion, right now, you should be getting educated not only on the mayoral candidates, but it's vital that we have a good city council as well. It's vital for you to be educated. It's vital for you to pick up as many documents that you can pick up to read. It's vital for you to check people's voting history if they've already been on the council. And it's vital for you to continue to understand that your voice is your vote. No matter who you choose in this election, no matter who you like in this election, make sure you're listening to the competency. Does this make sense? Does this fit our city? and who's going to have us forward growing. It's kind of late to register to vote now. You should already be registered by now.
Yeah.
Voting opens back up. The registration opens back up November 20th. But we encourage you to make sure that you take people with you to the polls. That's the other biggest piece right now. Take a friend, tell a friend, take your coworker. It's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. November 7th. We really encourage you to have a polling party. Everybody on your lunch hour, take some friends, go to those polls, vote for whomever you see as the best candidate that fits your life. And we thank you guys for showing up.
Outstanding. Mr. Mitchell, thank you again.
Thank you so much, sir. It means a lot.
Vote, don't not vote. It's important, and it's very important this time around. This is Billy Earl with Eastern Shore Politics. Namaste.